Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our episode 9 of Men2Men Podcast. I'm Malik Carey, along with my co-host, Brett Carroll. Brett, what's going on, man?
Malik, how you doing, my brother? How you doing?
I'm good. What we doing today, brother? Talk to me.
Well, as you know, we're in a series. We called the series The State of Black America since it's Black History Month. A couple weeks ago, we led with education in the black community. Last week, we talked about the black employment marketplace. And so today, we thought it might be a good idea to talk about black entrepreneurialism or black entrepreneurship.
Yes, my favorite topic.
I thought you would. I thought you would enjoy that.
Yes,
and,
yes.
And so, and then in the coming weeks to come, we're going to talk about Black Americans and the housing market. And then we'll close with building black wealth. And the reason why we're doing that is because what we learned was that education, employment, entrepreneurialism, and housing are all key factors when it comes to black wealth.
Yeah. And we don't have it, then we're in trouble. Thanks, man. I just, we do our research around here. We don't just come and bring topics that we don't research. And, there was a recent study conducted of 1,000 business owners. And some of the findings, man, were outstanding. It said 82% of black business owners said they had to adjust their behavior during business interactions with customers, vendors to avoid negative racial stereotypes.
Wow.
Yeah. 79% of black business owners experience racism for their customers. 57% of black business owners were denied business loans versus 37% of all non-white business owners. I can definitely speak to that. And here's a killer. On average, it costs black business owners almost $21,000 to $25,000 to start their business versus $16,000 for their non-white counterparts.
Wow.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. But on a positive note, there's a positive note.
Well, you know what? I want to just jump back real quick and talk about some of those reasons for those disparities. To Malik's point, this was a pretty extensive article that was written by Jasmine Browley in Essex Magazine a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. She was doing a series on Black History Month, and I came across it. I thought it was very interesting. So the data that Malik just read and some of the findings that I'm going to share now is a result of the work that she did in her particular article. So a big shout out to Jasmine Broley. If you get a chance to read the article, it's a great article. Anyway, basically what she's saying is that there's about 4 or 5 reasons as to why there's this disparity. Mm-hmm. One is that business owners, black business owners, take longer than expected to raise enough capital to be able to start a business.
Yeah.
And the second thing she talked about was not black business owners or blacks who want to get into business. Either they don't know or they don't really understand what's available to them through the government when it comes to government loans and government grant options. Mm. And they don't know the process. And so thirdly, blacks who want to start a business have more difficulty raising capital. And this comes from a challenge they have when it comes to not having strong personal assets. And it also comes from not having the kind of financial support that they may want to get from family and friends that other ethnic groups may provide. Mm-hmm. And finally, the article that was presented here pretty much talked about the reasons why black businesses are where they are. And so what we're going to talk about is how we can kind of flip that script and how we can, as brothers and sisters, become more successful entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's really true. And I do want to speak to, me being a business owner for a very long time now. And then I've been through a lot of that, going to the traditional banks and being denied when I had, literally 700 credit. But there was something that came up that said, hey, no, we can't do it. Or, or they shot the interest rates up so high, we don't want to do it. And so that's really where, when we talk about the other, and it's not just the white, we're talking about Asian, we're talking about Korean, we're talking about a lot of other businesses that come in and they get those loans. And, we hear it all the time. But on a positive note, 85% of black business owners were able to pay themselves in 2022. That's a really great thing. And then also, 75% of black business owners believe that a successful business is critical, right? Especially in the African American communities. And it is critical, to be able to do that and to be able to do, the work that needs to be done and to have the passion to own a business. It's really something that is awesome. And so to be able to pay yourself is important. You're not just getting out here working to play your benders and all of that other stuff.
Yeah, so, when I saw that, I was pretty impressed with that because for the most part, my experience and my understanding was that for most black businesses who are starting out, the thing you sacrifice the most is your own salary. Mm-hmm. You're not able to pay yourself. Mm-hmm. Any money you make, you pour back into the business to keep the business going, to keep the business running. Mm-hmm. But for 85% of them to be able to say, hey, I at least paid myself, that to me is success.
That's a great success.
Absolutely. That's success. Right. And so that's encouraging as far as I'm concerned. But I want to take a quick look at some of the other things that that are important if you're going to try to start a business. One of those things is clearly understanding your own financial situation. And I think this is something that a lot of us just aren't on top of.
Aware of. We weren't taught, we were not taught how to even look at the finances and look at a balance sheet and look at profit and loss statements. And, so definitely knowing and before you even get there in the business, but looking at your own financial situation is important. And, I have a lot of young entrepreneurs come to me and they may have an idea and they're working in their job and they come and they say, hey, I'm thinking about leaving my job. And I say, wait. Do you have, and I asked a couple of questions. Do you have at least a year's salary put away for yourself? At least a year. Do you have any financial sense? Do you understand that this is a big undertaking? And
sense,
right?
Sense being CENTS and
SENSE.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right. So do you have that? Right. And if you don't quit your job. And you want to jump out there not knowing, not understanding that, hey, it may take me 5 years to pay myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And it ain't coming back day one. It ain't going to come back maybe until, a thriving business really takes between 3 to 5 years to build. Mm-hmm. And so we have those conversations. So a lot of times people don't realize that, hey, it's a great idea to start my own business. But you know what? Let's really think about that. What's your business plan look like? Do your homework. Do all of the things that need to be done. Do you know what your registration cost is? Do you know what branding cost is? Do you know how much it costs to start a website? What is it in your marketing cost? Doing a cost analysis is really what it's called. And, inventory, supply, technology, all of these things, your legal fees, your accountant fees. Do I have a great accountant who's going to be able to do that? Something very important. I remember being early in business, Brett, and I came in one day and I always tell stories, when I came in one of my early businesses and my phones were off. And it's something as simple as paying. And I called my mentor. I was just frustrated, embarrassed. And he said, do you have a bookkeeper? I was like, a bookkeeper? Wow. Guess what? In 20 years since I've had a bookkeeper in my life, my phones ain't been off, right? Something that simple, not just an accountant, but do I have a bookkeeper? Do I have, what it takes to get out here? And if I got to hire a consultant, if I got to, what's my brand going to be like? There's so much to starting and opening a business. And if you don't know those upfront costs, and if we don't know, and again, going back to that financial sense, So that means I got to have a year's salary. Plus, I got to come in the door knowing what all of this looks like, because this doesn't have anything. My year's salary in the bank, that's just to sustain. This is the cost it's going to take, that $21,000 that they talked about to open that business. Do I have that? Do I have $25,000, $30,000? Knowing those things, that's what we need to think about. And so, Brett, talk to me. What else you think we need?
Well, I think the biggest thing, what you just outlined, were the things that we need to know that's external to us. Mm-hmm. But first and foremost, or after you learn those costs, and after you learn what those expenses are, it's really important to understand, as I said a minute ago, your financial situation. Your financial situation is basically being able to understand your personal finances, which is your monthly expenses, which is your total debt, your total assets. And then you want to look at, when you look at total debt, total assets, do you have money saved? Mm-hmm. And one of the most important things to know and to have at your disposal if you're going to start a business is 6 months worth of personal living expenses and 6 months worth of business expenses.
Well, that's why I always say a year's salary, right?
Yeah, and it's important to separate the two. Mm-hmm. You are putting yourself at a significant disadvantage if you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. So you want to make sure that you are financially set, personally and financially set from a business standpoint of view before you even go into business. The other thing that's I think pretty critically important is realizing that if you find yourself, if you do your homework, like Malik talked about, and you understand what these costs are, and then you sit down and look at where you are, it's very important to realize if you're not where you need to be, you don't go into business.
No, not at all.
So, Malik, we've done our homework and we got our finances in order. So what's next?
Man, know your audience. Why am I going into business? Don't come to me telling me I got some great T-shirts to sell. There's a million other people that got great T-shirts to sell. Know who am I selling to? What's my audience and why? Right? Those, who, what, why? Right? Why am I going into business? I think that's the biggest part of it, and knowing who I'm going to sell to. Who am I appealing to? Who am I marketing to? Then what are their priorities? Right? What are the priorities? What makes me want that client to come and buy my brand and to come to me? I'm in mental health, right? So, I know my audience. It's right. Everyone, right? Anyone who has an issue that needs to be addressed, you come to therapy.
Well, so that's interesting. You said it's everyone. Okay. It's not everyone.
It is everyone.
Well, here, I understand your point of view, but here's the thing. Uh-huh. I came up with this idea. I have a passion for it. I love it. Half of it is a product, half of it is a service. I'm going to make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But here's what you're talking about. Here's what's very important.
Okay.
Just because I think it's important, just because I think it's a great product, just because I think it's a great service, I got to understand who am I selling it to.
That's good, right?
And the reason why I have to do that is because being a Black entrepreneur, is this product or service something that Black people want, or is it something that Black people need?
Right.
And if they want it or need it, can they afford it?
So now I'm going to talk at a bigger level now, because my business may be Black. I'm not just selling Black. I'm not just focusing on Black. I'm a business owner. I want everyone to own my product. Right. And so I'm not, because I'm an entrepreneur, because I'm a Black business owner, doesn't mean I don't want to sell to my white counterparts or my Spanish counterparts. So I'm looking at this as like, listen, I'm a Black business owner, but look at my staff. Let's look at my team. It's multicultural. Right. I mean, I'm not in an urban area. I'm in the white suburban area. And so my audience is mental health. I happen to be an entrepreneur and a Black business owner, but my clientele is everyone. And so when I'm looking at why we're starting businesses, if you limit yourself to just Black, you're in trouble.
I think you misunderstood what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm not saying you can't sell or shouldn't sell to people who aren't black. I'm saying because you are black and because you are a black business owner, you really want to make sure that the audience that you believe you're selling to is able and willing
to pay your price. Oh, okay, we're on it. Yeah.
To buy
Yes.
your product and your service, because they could go next door or they could go across the street. Now, you read a statistic a few minutes ago, and I forgot exactly what it said, but it said something to the effect that black business owners, a high percentage, 82%.
85.
Was 85% of black business owners have experienced racism from
65%.
from their customers.
Right.
Now, when I read, that's from their customers. That's not from the marketplace.
Yes.
That's not from society.
Yes.
But that's
No, I'm sorry. 79% of all black business owners have experienced some type of racism from their customers.
from their customers.
Right.
So what the point I'm trying to make here is that it's not that I only want to sell to blacks. I want to sell to everybody.
Exactly.
But I have to make sure that my audience is willing to buy from me because they know, or they will soon find out, I'm a black entrepreneur.
Right.
The other thing that's, I think, is kind of interesting or important is if the answer is yes, they're okay buying from you because you're black. You still have to offer a product or a service that is
affordable
on the one hand, but the big question that you asked there that I want to kind of really delve into a little bit is, why would they buy it from me and not the brother next door or the Asian across the street or the Indian behind me or the white business owner that's been in business for 10 years. It's really, really important.
So let me speak to that. The reason that they want to come to me is because I believe in excellence. Because I show up and I say who I am, right? So when people walk in the Family Healing Center, they walk into a place that is warm, inviting. We open on time. We close on time. Right? And a lot of times when we see a lot of our black businesses, you go there sometimes and they're not open on time and closed on time. And so what we want to do is start to become excellent so that they do want to buy from us. So my product is a product that says, you know what, I don't want to go anywhere else. When people walk in the Family Healing Center, it's warm, it's inviting. People say, hey, your website is the reason I chose you, right? So what is the product you're putting out? And that's when people are going to say, hey, I want to buy from you because you put out an excellent product. You've put your time into the product. You put your resources into the product. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into the product. And if you do that, you won't have any problem with someone buying from you, regardless of the color. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. But I want to just drill down a little bit further.
Okay.
You make a good point. I appreciate that. But here's the thing that I think might be helpful. You do a test pilot, you do a test market. So I'm selling widgets. Put it out there, put the widget out there. What makes my widget different? What makes my widget unique? What makes my widget
create competition?
Well, what makes my widget different from the competition? And is that difference a sellable item? I'm trying to think of what might be a great example. But so you have, like you said, T-shirts. There's a million T-shirt companies out there. There's a lot of competition out there for everything there is.
That's right.
What I'm saying to my brothers and sisters who might be listening to this, who might be in business or might be starting a business.
Or thinking about starting a business.
Yeah, what I'm saying to you is it's really, really important for you to understand the strengths and weaknesses. And I want to make a couple of points here. The strengths and weaknesses of your product.
That's called the SWOT analysis.
Or of your service, so that you can, to the best of your ability, determine if you have a marketplace, and if so, then what is it? Is it 5%? Is it 10% of this marketplace? Is it 15% of this marketplace? You need to be aware of those things before you go into business, so that A, you can decide whether I'm going to go or not, and B, if you do go, at least you have a really pretty decent understanding as to what the expectations are. And knowing your audience is critical. knowing the industry you're going, like you know
your
your
marketplace.
you know you know your industry well, you know your marketplace well. It's critical to know your marketplace. It's critical to know your industry, and then you talk about this a little bit, and it's very critical to know who you're competing with.
That's right. That's right. You know, one of the things I love when you come off of the highway where we live, you come all across, and there are 3 gas stations on each corner. There's 4 corners, but on each of those gas stations, and they're always full. And I always say, or you going to the malls and you see a T-Mobile or Verizon, and you see an AT&T right next to one another. What makes one go to AT&T and another one go to T-Mobile and another one go to Verizon? It's all competition, but they know their market. They know their audience. They know who's coming in those doors and who they're appealing to. And it's the same with us, even in small business. Hey, I may want to create T-shirts. I may want to create widgets. I may want to sell jeans, whatever it is. Who am I selling to? And you have to drill it down so much like that. And that's in the beginning phases. So let's talk about that. What's your business plan look like? Right. And so when I'm looking at why am I doing this, who's going to see this business plan? Right. Proverbs 16:3, commit your plans to the Lord, they will succeed. Right. Commit your plans to something. So do you have a business plan? When I'm doing this, learning who my target audience is going to be, and then asking myself, can they afford my products and services? Who's going to buy my products and services? So I think you're really spot on, Brett, about knowing your audience. But, and that all takes time. That literally takes time to fish out. So anything else, Brett?
Well, obviously, you're right. It does take time to fish out, but we're talking about the things that you need to do before you get started. See, one of the things that I think is important, sometimes some of us, and it doesn't matter who we are, what color we are, anything like that. Some of us just like to, just run and jump into the water. And then once we get in the water, we come to realize, the water's too cold, or the water's too deep, or I didn't realize I can't swim. Mm-hmm. What we're trying to do here is to get people prepared
to go swimming.
To go swimming. And the biggest thing that I believe, and like I said, I've looked at some articles and looked at some things that other people have done. Biggest thing you can do is just make sure you're fully aware of what you're walking into. Mm-hmm. And it all starts with, how much is all of this going to cost? Mm-hmm. It then comes down to, how much do I have? And then, can I afford to be in business? And if the answer is yes, okay, great. Now, what am I selling? Who am I selling it to? Why would they buy from me? And the big thing about why they would buy from me, and we talked about this, is value, differentiation and value. So if you can think of 2 words that resonate with being successful, especially starting a business, is how different is what I'm bringing to the market, and what value does what I offer bring to my potential customer.
And I want to speak value in doing excellent. It's almost like and I want to say this, as Black and brown business owners, we have to be so much better.
Right.
We do.
Right.
We have to be so much better. We have to, and if you're going to do that, that means that comes with a cost too. Right. I mean, you can't just wake up and come, like you say, even before you getting started, having that plan. But once that door is open, your business opens at 8:00 and you're showing up 5 minutes before 8, whatever. But knowing yourself and knowing those things, operational cost, value cost, all of those things are so important. So great job, Brett. What else we got going on? Other keys. Let's talk about that really. You may need to know, funding, financial resources, who are your funding sources? Okay. If a bank's going to tell you to turn you down, do you go, and I want to say this too, making sure your credit is strong. So if I do go get that funding, or I need to go get some credit cards or go get some additional financing from someone, knowing that when they show up, my credit looks good and they can say I'm responsible, hiring business consultants, knowing that, I don't know it all. A couple of months ago, I had to bring a consultant to look at some other sides to my business. It's okay to say I don't know, and we don't know it all. You know, I don't care.
I think it's critically important to say I don't know.
Right. It's very important to say I don't know. And if we don't realize that, and I don't care, you know, I have a business degree. That doesn't mean because I have a business degree that I knew it all.
Right.
Right. And so, you know, having a board, making sure you have a sounding board, people to bounce stuff off of. Again, we talked about it earlier, you know, legal, accounting services, consulting services, you know, social media, looking at marketing, you know, looking at traditional marketing strategies, knowing what social media can do and the power and platform of it. And then, you know, as a last resort, when we're looking at getting funding, you know, is your family can you go to your family and ask them to invest in you? Do they believe in you enough? Do your friendships, are there some friends that you have that may want to invest in you? And so when you look at those things, those are really, really, really key, you know, to starting a business. Because if my friends and family don't believe in me, then, you know, and sometimes they will hate. But you have other times where, you know, there are some people, mom, you know, or cousin or auntie or grandma or dad or whoever, if they believe in you enough, that you show yourself responsible enough, they may want to invest. So really having that and, you know, knowing that these things, again, making sure you have all your ducks in order is so important. And so anything else, Brett?
Yeah, I just want to go back to what you said about the friends and family thing. You know, there's two different schools of thought there. One school of thought is when it comes to black businesses in particular, there has been a groundswell of support or a philosophy or belief that says when family invests, when friends invest, not only do they become investors, but they become partners, and that partnership is strong. And because we're together, because we're invested, we can turn this thing into a successful business. And I've seen that, I've read that, I've experienced that. Then you have, on the other hand, you have business consultants who will say the last thing you want to do is rely on family and friends. For the obvious reasons, if things don't go well, now you have destroyed those relationships or caused serious damage to family members or serious damage to friendships. And because money's lost, because money's wasted, because money isn't spent the way it's supposed to be spent, because the business didn't turn out the way it's supposed to be. So really, the thing that I would say is, this is just me personally, some people have to go to their family and friends. And if you have to do that, you have to do it. I would say to you, if that's the only way you can go into business, good luck. Good luck to you.
Yeah, that's a true statement, Brett. I mean, friends and family sometimes don't mix.
Yeah, when it comes to business,
especially, and unfortunately, I've experienced it in many ways. But there are some people who do it, and again, and understanding this is an investment. I'm not asking you to be a partner. If I'm investing, or if you're investing, you're coming in and you're looking at, I'm coming with a business plan. I'm coming with strong credit. I'm showing that I'm responsible enough, and you've developed a strong relationship enough to say, hey, this person is going to pay me back my money. I can trust the process. I can trust knowing that this person is, if it is a family member, but do make... Definitely. Yeah, I think I did say last resort is family and friends. I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. If it had to be a last resort, but make sure the family members you're going into business with, because you are, and especially as African Americans, where's my money? And don't show up, if you ain't paid them their money back, but you're showing up with brand new stuff every day, and you're doing what you said you're going to do with the money, and being intentional about that.
Yeah, and ideally, Malik, just let me real quickly just jump back on that whole family and friend thing. Ideally for me, and this is going to sound contradictory, but here's my dream. Here's my ideal dream. I take a couple members of my family, a couple of friends. We sit down and we create a business. Why? Because regardless of what the business models say, and I respect smart business people and I respect smart business models, nothing would be more gratifying to me than to be able to take some family and friends, sit down, start a business, start from scratch, build it into something successful. It doesn't have to be a multi-million-dollar business, but something successful, because I think that can build family, that can build community, that can strengthen friendships. But it also shows us as Black people that we can do this. It shows the Black family that we can come together and we can be more than just family. And it shows friends that we can come together and be more than just friends. It's not necessarily something I advocate, as we just talked about, but it's something that I have a passion for. But
and we do too. I think I look at LeBron James. I don't care what you think about him as a basketball player, whatever. But I love what he did with his boys. Right? He took his.
That's
boys.
A great example.
That's a great example. Mm-hmm. He took his boys and they went and one became an agent and one became the marketer and one. But you know what? It takes a special group of guys to do that. And yeah, there are people who can do that, and I've tried that, and unfortunately for me, it didn't work out. But and it's not to say that I wouldn't do it again. But I would do it with a different group of people. I would do it with people who all are pulling for the same things. And one of the things that I've noticed, and this is just my own experience, if you're not bringing the same things to the table, and it doesn't always have to be money. I may bring money, but you bring a skill set, or this one brings a strategy. But you all have to be on that same playing field to be able to say, hey, look, what I love, you're going to go to college, you're going to learn this. Hey, you're going to go do this. And we put it together. It will work. But you all got to be about the same grind.
Right.
When one can't be relying on another to pick up his end of the slack or that one. Everyone got to be on the same grind. If you can do that, go for it, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple of things I just want to reiterate that you said I think is really, really, really important. Number one, you got to know what your funding and financial resources are. Mm-hmm. Even if the bank says no, or the mortgage company says no, or that lending institution says no, know who they are, develop those relationships, because a no in March could turn into a yes in September.
Right.
A no in 2023 could turn into a yes in 2024.
Never take no for an answer.
Well, the more important thing is to develop the relationships with these financial institutions so that you understand what they're looking for. Mm-hmm. Because if you develop the relationship, at some point they'll tell you what they're looking for. At some point they'll be honest with you. And at some point you can begin to do the things that you need to do. So you can come back to them and say, hey, Malik, you told me this 6 months ago. This is what you told me. This is what I did. Let's do business. That's critically important. I think it's also important to have a relationship or develop a relationship with a legal person. And when I say a legal person, I mean an attorney that specializes in small business,
right,
and specializes in small business startups.
Right, you can't go to an attorney that's specializing in criminal defense and expect him to be a business attorney. You want a business attorney. You want someone who knows business, who knows how to read contracts. You want an accountant who understands business. You have some accountants that all they do is personal finances. So you want to find an accountant that knows business, that knows tax laws. You want an attorney who knows tax laws. And you know what? Because they're cheap don't mean that they're great either. You may want to spend a little more money. So really understanding, and that goes back again to planning. What am I doing for this business? And these are keys, and we keep harping on them because these are things that we've learned in our own experiences. These are things that we've learned through other people's experiences. And so if we can just save someone a few dollars and a few mistakes, then
and some sleepless nights
and
too.
Some sleepless nights.
And I just want to focus on this too. The whole concept of marketing. Really, really important to be able to develop some kind of relationship with somebody who knows how to market who knows how to do startup marketing. An attorney that has large scale clients is not going to help you. An accounting firm that's doing business with multi-million-dollar companies is not going to help you. Get the person who specializes in small startups, whether it's an attorney, whether it's an accountant, and a marketing specialist, because there's a difference between acquisition marketing and retention marketing. There's a difference between startup marketing and sustainable marketing, meaning we're trying to sustain the business as opposed to starting the business up. And so you want to make sure you have those relationships intact before you spend a dime, before you go into business. You really need to do all these things so that you know why you're going, so that you know that you are going into business, and you know why, and you know what you're going to do, and you have your resources in place. The other thing, and Malik, you mentioned this a minute ago, but a couple times, but I also really want to talk about how important it is before you launch your business, how critically important it is for you to have a business plan. Your business plan.
If you don't plan to win, you plan to fail, right?
Yep. The business plan needs to have a couple components to it. Number one, first of all, you're going to use your business plan for a lot of different reasons. So it has to have a vision statement. It has to have a mission statement. People need to know who you are, what you're about, and so that they can decide to buy in to you or not.
And let me speak to that mission statement. It's so important. If you don't know where you're going, if your clients don't know where you're going, if it's selling T-shirts, I want to sell T-shirts. I want to be the number one T-shirt seller in New Jersey. Okay, that's great. But what does that look like for you? So mission and vision are so, so important. And if your mission drives it, and your vision tells you where you're going. And if you don't know where you're going, if you don't have a vision, neither will your clients. And your vision is, why am I getting up every day? So if you can understand that is so important.
Yeah, and what it does more than anything else is it connects you to your business community. Mm-hmm. It's going to connect you to business partnerships. It's going to connect you to business sponsorships. It's going to connect you to certain customers. It's going to connect you to certain people who might want to market on your behalf, or might want to come in some kind of a partnership. So your vision statement and your mission statement is basically, here's who I am, here's what I'm about. Love me or not. So it's critical. Also in your business plan, you got to talk about the products and services that you offer. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say this again and again and again. It's not just saying I'm selling this or I'm providing this service. It's about what makes my product different, what makes my service different, and what value my products and my services bring to you, Mr. or Mrs. prospective customer. We talked about the financial part of this. Your business plan needs to have a very strong financial page to it. Expenses, assets, projected costs, projected sales, first quarter sales, second quarter sales. You need to have a return on investment piece on your financial page in your business plan, because again, the business plan is designed to accomplish several things. A, it gets you financing. B, your business plan could get you partnerships. C, your business plan can get you sponsorships. D, your business plan can get you advertising. And your business plan ultimately can get you customers. Because if
that's the ultimate goal, because I could do all of that, and if I don't have no customers coming through the door, this doesn't mean anything, right?
Exactly. Your business plan needs to have a pretty clear marketing plan on it, and you need to be able to have sales projections. You need to be able to have business expenses. These things need to be broken down quarterly, and your business plan needs to have the executives, your owner, or co-owner, or founder, or co-founder, and all the leadership people in your organization, along with your board members. So these are the things that needs to be in a business plan if you plan to get funding, if you plan on getting financing, if you plan on doing partnerships, if you plan on having sponsorships, if you plan on getting advertisers, and for the most part, if you plan on getting high-level customers, got to have a business plan. Secondly, we talked about this a week or so ago, Malik, the whole concept of having a sales pitch. You have your business plan. Now you have your 30-second elevator pitch.
Yep.
Yep. You have your 2-minute extension of your elevator pitch, and then you have your power story. I'm not going to bore you with all that. We talked about it last week. But basically, those 3 different forms of verbal communication, 30-second elevator pitch, you extend it to a 2-minute pitch, and you extend the 2-minute pitch to a power story. If you're able to get in front of somebody and you're able to get to your power story, it's first, for those of you who are football fans, it's first and goal at the 1. You are exactly where you want to be.
That's good.
With the sponsorship person you want to do business with the partner you might want to do business with a funding institution or a financing institution that you need money from, or even if it's somebody who just simply says to you, you know what, I like you, I like your vision, I like how you're going to implement your vision with your mission statement, I like your marketing plan, I like the products you have, I like the service that you want to provide. You know what, I'm going to support you.
And that means I showed up prepared.
Exactly. I'm going to support you. And then the other thing is the application. We just talked about that a couple of minutes ago. Even when you have a good business plan and you're able to have a strong sales pitch, whether it's 30 seconds, 2 minutes, or a power story, you're winning. You're winning. You're winning because this is what people want to see. This is what people want to hear. Like Malik said, they want to see that you're prepared. They want to see that you know what you're talking about. They want to see that you're researched. They want to see that you're ready to rock and roll. The only thing you might need from them is cash,
right,
or a contract,
right,
or a partnership,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Both, all 3 sometimes.
Exactly.
Right.
But this is
but that's why you got to show up prepared.
Right.
You know, you have to be prepared. And the thing that I see with a lot of especially the young entrepreneurs, and I teach entrepreneurship all over the world, not just here, is so many people have great ideas, but they're not prepared. And so, Brett, let's start a business. Let's start my business. What does that look like? You know, when people say, hey, I want to start my business. Okay, did you make sure that you research, your name? Do you have a name? Do you have an address?
Well, that's I know it sounds simple, but here's the whole thing. You're going to have to research whatever you want to call your business. You're going to research to make sure somebody else doesn't have it, or you can get sued. You can be sued for copyright infringement or registration infringement. So make sure whatever name you want to have, and I suggest you have 3 or 4 or 5 different names, because you might have to drill all the way down to your 4th option, because that's the one that's available. So your business name has to be unique. It can't be anybody else's. And your business you got to have the business address. So we're talking about registering the business.
That's right. And then then you have to go register the business with the state you live in. Now there are attorneys that do it, but a lot of the stuff you can do yourself. I don't think that you need to pay someone to do it. If you live in New Jersey, go to newjersey.gov or whatever state you live in. There's a business portal. Go to, Google whatever state you live in, on the business portal, and then, get a federal. So you need something that's important. You need what they call an EIN number. That's just like your social security number. You need that. And so understanding once you start a business and you get that tax ID number, which is your EIN number, that's your credit social security number. But you still need, in the beginning, you're going to still need your own personal credit to get business loans and to do all of that, especially with a new business. Creating a logo, very important. What's your logo look like? What's your taglines? Our center is Family Healing Center, but our tagline is what? Where families heal. Right? So it's Family Healing Center where families heal. What's your tagline? What's your website? Again, you need that. Working with a website designer. Today, everyone wants to look at you. Make yourself even a Google page. You can show up in Google. Google me. I tell people that they think I'm crazy, but yeah, you want to know who I am? Google me. See what we're doing. And so doing that, right? Then you begin, as we've been talking about, begin marketing. You should have been doing that already because you've got your business plan. Now you're taking that business plan out. You're showing people that business plan. You're getting people involved. You're networking. And then finally, set realistic expectations. And realistic expectations, if you're ready for the grind, unless you just got some dope product, it takes about 3 to 5 years.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And that's how long it takes. It takes 3 to 5 years to start a business, to start to see return on that business, to start to gain traction in that business. It takes time. And if you don't know that you have time, then business is not for you, because we think about the sexiness of owning our own business. But let me say something. There are a lot of late nights. There are a lot of late days. I'm still, I'm down to 4 days a week, but I'm still 8 to 8. I'm still putting in 12-hour days daily. Right. And so understanding those things, when I got my business started, then there are a lot of hours, there are a lot of sacrifices, there are a lot of trips that you're not going to go on. Those are things that you need to understand when I'm setting those realistic expectations. Don't think because I started a business and I got my business funding and I got all that stuff that I'm going to start taking trips right away, or, rent's going to be no, because you got things to do. And so understanding that is so important.
Yeah, and just want to go back for a second about the registration. You can register your business for the state you live in, but you could also register your business on a federal level. That's going to require you doing two different sets of registration, one for the state and one for the federal. I just want to make sure that you understood that. If you want to, if you want to
play at the global or the federal level, if you want to just be a local guy and you just have a name for local, right? If you want to do it federally and you want to, and again, getting that attorney so that your name you can. What's the word, Brett? When you validate your name that no one else can have, you trademark.
Right.
You want to trademark your name. Or those are things that you want to do. And so knowing that is so important also.
Right. And also, to your point, Malik, you want to trademark your logo and your taglines.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to, if you come with this great logo and this great taglines, and by the way, what they're designed to do is to what a logo does and what a tagline does is it connects you to your customer. Mm-hmm. And everything that you do should be tied to your logo, tied to your tagline, because that represents who you are. Mm-hmm. That represents the business you're in. It represents the product or service you sell, and also represents to some extent the value proposition that you offer your customers. Like you said, your tagline was
where families heal.
So the Family Healing Center is the name of the company. The tagline is where families heal. Mm-hmm. That resonates, as Malik talked about. He has all kinds of clients in this geography, and that can resonate with any ethnicity, any age group, or any type of person who may be struggling with some sort of a mental disorder. And so it's about healing. And so people who are hurting need to heal. So make sure that your tagline
is powerful,
and it resonates with your customer. Mm-hmm. If your tagline doesn't resonate with your customer, you have the wrong tagline. Mm-hmm. All right, so that's real important. And the same thing with your website. And if you have a website designer, they'll share this with you. They'll tell you, they'll do it for you. They'll tell you why they're doing it. And if you're going to do it yourself, you got to make sure that your website is speaking to your target audience. Mm-hmm. Make sure your website tells people who you are, what you do, what you've done, and what value you bring to them. And because you're just starting out, you're not going to have a lot of testimonies. You're not going to have a lot of references. But what you can do is you can start with working with family, working with friends, doing things for them, helping them get to where they want to get to, so you can put them on your website. They can be your testimonies, and they can begin to build credibility for you to show people that you have ability, that you can deliver, because at the end of the day, people buy deliverability.
That's right. They want to know that you can deliver. They want to know who you are, who you say you are.
Exactly.
Yep. And that goes back to showing up.
Yep, exactly. So, Malik, at the end of the day, you talked about expectations. So I just want to kind of talk about that real quickly before we close out. So important, really important to set realistic expectations. I've seen people set expectations that weren't realistic, and they failed. And they failed not because they didn't have the capability. They failed because they wanted too much too soon, and it wasn't realistic. Your expectations need to be driven around your sales projections. How much can I sell month one? How much can I sell?
Make sure that those sales projections are realistic.
Right. And how much can I sell the first quarter? How much can I sell the first 6 months? And are those sales enough to cover my expenses? If no, you got to make adjustments. If yes, then what's my net profit? Meaning, all my bills are paid, all my employees are paid if I have employees, all my expenses are paid. What do I have left? If you're comfortable with what you have left after a month, after 2 months, after 3 months, after 6 months, you're in good shape. If you're doing your projections and you see that I'm going to need to sell 1,000 baskets in order to pay my bills, that's not a realistic expectation. So you got to be realistic, because you certainly don't want to jump in and operate a business, run a business, finance a business, and wind up 2 months, 6 months in not meeting your sales projections, not meeting your financial goals, and now all of a sudden
you're discouraged.
You're not only discouraged, but you're out of cash flow, right, and you're out of business.
Right.
So from a projection standpoint of view, it's real important that you make sure you have monthly, if not monthly, that you have quarterly, semi-annually, and annual cash flow.
Right.
In order to stay in business.
And knowing that too is real important. But even as you talked about, when you talk about, making sure that those numbers are right, that's why the accounting is important. That's why knowing and doing a market analysis is important, right? Because if you do that market analysis is going to tell you, or hope to give you some direction in, okay, my T-shirts, this guy did.
Back to those T-shirts, huh?
They did 5,000 last year. Maybe I need to adjust to 250,
right? Whatever
it is. So really knowing that. Yep.
And that speaks to the next point I wanted to make. You got to monitor your success. Let's say you started this business. Let's say you did all your projections. Let's say that everything that you've done your homework, you've did all your projections, you have everything lined up. Everything's on paper conceptually and theoretically looks good. Well, then there's this thing called reality. So it's real important to monitor your success. Oh, we thought we were conservative. We thought we were going to do $1,000 a week. Well, we're only doing $750. Okay, you got to make adjustments. Oh, well, actually, we're doing $2,000. We're doing twice as much as we thought. Monitor your success. Make the necessary adjustments as needed. And I'll say this too. Don't be proud. Don't be proud.
No.
Get help if you need it. The worst thing you can do is stay in the water if it's too cold, or stay in the water if it's too deep. Raise your hand, blow the whistle, go get help. Consider consultants. Okay.
Yeah, we keep harping on that because consultants are very important, and if you need one, you can reach me or Brett at.
You're funny. That's it. You're funny. But strongly consider consultants before you wind up going out of business. And I know they're expensive. And I know people are going to say, well, I can't really afford to pay a consultant because I'm stuck. I'm not making as much money as I need to. It doesn't hurt for somebody to come in and look at what you're doing, look at how you're doing it, and say to you, these are the 2 or 3 things that you can do better. These are 2 or 3 things that I suggest, because those suggestions could flip your business and turn your business from being a failure into a success. So don't rule it out. Don't rule out partnerships. And I know how we get when we want to have our own business. We want to be our own boss. We want to call our own shots. We want to have our own agendas. We want to have our own initiatives. We want to do our own thing. But if you're struggling, or for that matter, even if you're successful,
there's nothing wrong with having partners.
And somebody comes in with money, and somebody comes in with
better ideas and
fresh thoughts and new technologies and a product or a service that complements your product or service.
Yes, no.
Or for that matter, just allows you to go into a whole different industry. Don't let your pride get in the way of doing partnerships.
And let me say this too, that's so important. You can't do it alone. I don't know anyone who is successful has done it alone. You cannot, you will not, you cannot do this alone.
Absolutely. Malik, what else? What other thoughts do you have?
I want to talk about this. Really important too. Is all right. We started the business. We got it. We need funding. So there are 4 ways that you can do to start a new business. You can fund a new business 4 ways. Number 1 is do it yourself if you can. 39% do, right? They start their businesses. You can use a retirement plan, a savings plan, again. And then we can do that. So knowing that, that is so important to be able to do. So that's number 2. Definitely use savings plan again. And if you got a great idea, if you got a great plan, if you got those things, then that you are able to do that. Number 3 really is, basically using 0% credit cards, knowing business credit cards, but you got to have good credit. You can't just go and do that. U.S. Bank and American Express give some great deals, but again, you got to have great credit to do those things. Crowdfunding, is another way of looking at business. That's virtual funding from people who believe in your business and your vision.
Let me just jump here real quick. And that's why it's so important to have that website. Mm-hmm. It's so important to have your sales pitch. It's so important to be able to talk about how you're different, why you're different, and what value you bring. Because this whole crowdfunding has become a significant business source. Because what all that is people who scan the internet. They look for people like Malik. They look for people like me who are, or like you. They look for people just like you, mm-hmm. who are in business, and they like what you sell. They like what you offer. They like what you do, and they invest in you. Mm-hmm. And so that's a very up and coming.
And it's been around for a while, believe it or not. It's not, but like you said, you got to have your paperwork tight. You got to be tight. And then again, so we said using your retirement plan, that's doing it yourself, using your startup plan. B, using 0% credit cards. Again, U.S. Bank, I put a plug in for them because we do have a loan with them that they give us some great rates, and they've done some things using some other cards. Capital One, Spark card is a good card. Using, knowing what you're doing, but again, got to have credit. Mm-hmm. And then C or 3 is using the crowdfunding. And then again, if we can that 4th one, family and friends. Make them your investors. Don't make them your business partners.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. There's a couple of different ways to deal with. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but there's a couple of interesting ways to deal with family and friends. And for the most part, you can have them be in business with you, or you just have them be investors. Yeah. But that's a last resort.
Yeah. And then again, applying for small business loans, the U.S. Business Grant, U.S. Small Business Programs, government programs, grants, corporate programs, sponsorships, those are all important. And then, optimize, looking at high growth companies, angel investors, venture capitalists, all of those things are important, but again, if you're going to go that way, you have to be, again, that business plan has to be so solid. That business plan has to be so airtight. That 30-second elevator pitch has to be so powerful that if I'm going in front of an angel investor or a crowd or a venture capitalist, they want to know, can this person execute on, can he deliver on what he says he can deliver on?
Those last 2 options, the angel investor and the venture capitalist, those are for big businesses. If you're running a big business, you know about these groups already. They're not going to be options for small startups, but they are options for those of you who are obviously rocking and rolling and doing big business. We're out, bruh. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully it was informative, encouraging for those of you who want to or need to run your own business. And for those of you who are already running successful businesses, please leave advice or tips that you might have in our comment section on our webpage, because there are people who want to be where you are, and there are people who would benefit from what you've already done. So you can hear us on our Facebook page. You can hear us on Instagram. And you can hear us on YouTube. We are the Men2Men Podcast. Thanks for listening. Please like us. Please share us. And please add your comments.
Yep. And that's Men2Men. And that's MEN, the number 2, men, podcast.com. And again, we can be reached on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and SoundCloud. Thank you. And thank you for listening. Please share and like. Brett, yo, man, you have a great week, and I'll see you next week, bro.
The same, brother.
All right. God bless.